Hello, everyone. Episode number 49. Here we are, midway point, more or less. All teams have pretty much played five games each. Uh, of course, we got four more games to be played, and then followed by the semis and finals. Pretty much the business end of the tournament will start right now. But what we thought is that, at the midpoint, we should also talk about how each teams are faring and the current top four of India, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. Would there be any change by the time we see the last few games, probably by 12th to 13th of November? So I welcome Pavan Bhaiya. Hello, Pavan Bhaiya. How are you doing?
Hi Ravi, I'm doing good, and yeah, it's nice to catch up. We are just over the halfway mark of the tournament, and a lot of permutations and combinations can still work out for teams who are out of that top four, I guess.
100%. This, of course, looking at the table, right? I think I'm really glad with where India is currently placed. Five wins, five played, five wins. But at the same time, we can talk in lengths and breadths about how we kind of had more or less easy victories across teams. Probably the only testing game was Australia, wherein we were about two for three, and then we thought, it's all gone. But even though that eventually ended up as a more or less as a one-sided game too. But having said that, let's also keep in mind the fact that we never batted first. So that's going to be one business area where we're going to be heavily tested. And to be honest, given the games ahead with against England, against Sri Lanka, against South Africa and Netherlands, we should be batting first at least against England and South Africa is what I personally feel. Against Sri Lanka and Netherlands, wherein we start as favorites, it's okay. I mean, let the toss take its course. But against England and South Africa, given our top four spot is more or less sealed, it would be really interesting to see if we'll be able to defend. And we pretty much know how South Africa deals, right? They go score 399, score 400s. Decock is in mad form, but once they try to defend or sorry chase, and that's when they faltered right against Netherlands. So yeah, anyway, over to you, Ponway. What do you think of India? And then we can also talk about other teams too.
Yeah, definitely. And like you mentioned, India has been the team to beat so far in the tournament. Um, and like you mentioned, that they have been tested at various times and have responded very positively. I would say that even though the victories seem like one-sided, in every game they have been, tested at some point or the other. Like you just mentioned, in the game against Australia, they were two for three, and the likes of Kohli and Rahul absorbed the pressure and then steered the side towards a victory, which looked very comfortable at the end of the day. And then if you take the next game against Afghanistan, Afghanistan posted a very decent total on board in 270 odd, and it was Rohit Sharma's brilliance at the end of the day that took us through. Then similarly in the game against Pakistan, they were cruising at 150 odd for two at the 30 over mark. The bowlers again came back and bowled them out for under 200. And similarly against Bangladesh as well, they had an opening partnership of 93 runs odd, and still we were able to restrict them to 256, I think. And then the batsmen made short work of that. Um, and then we came back brilliantly in the last 10 overs against New Zealand, who were like 220 for four at the end of the 48 over mark. And you normally would expect the team batting in such a situation to add close to 100 to 120 runs in the last 10 overs, which would have meant India chasing 330 to 340. But there was absolute brilliance from the bowling attack again. So I think they have responded well to each and every question that's been asked, especially of the bowling attack. And like you mentioned, the team has not been tested when we have batted first. Especially when you're chasing, you can set the tempo, you know what target you're chasing. So it remains to be seen. I don't think India will win the toss and bat unless and until their qualification for the semi-finals is secured. It's another situation that if a team wins the toss, who India is playing against, they might want to bowl first, so that can happen. That will be a good test, and you definitely want to test yourself in all the situations possible before that semifinals. And while South Africa has been totally opposite of that, they have uh, played well when they have batted first, and the only hiccup that they have had is when they were chasing against the Netherlands, and that was not a huge total as well. So sides will look to have South Africa chasing going forward. But having said that, I think they have got the most explosive middle order batting that could ever be um, imagined in this day and age. Some fantastic players out there, and the platform being set by the likes of Decock and Reza Hendricks and Aiden Markram, and then followed by Klaassen and company to launch the assault has been the perfect recipe for them. So um, another area of concern for them could be dead bowling. So looking forward to how they respond when they are bowling first, and the opposition has got a good start. And when the heat is on in the last 10, 15 hours, how do they respond to that? And we all know, what kind of jinx South Africa is associated with in World Cups. So they would like to, first secure their qualification for the semifinals and then, uh, you know, play it very well on the big day.
And lose in the
Coming
semifinals.
I mean, their supporters would want to see a different result because I don't think they have won a knockout game in the World Cup except for the quarterfinal win that they had in 2015 World Cup against Sri Lanka. But semifinals has been a big hoodoo for them, never gone past that into the finals. So that's something that they would like to break the things on. But the game between India and South Africa on the 5th of November at Eden Gardens will be one to look forward to. And coming to the other two teams in the top four, New Zealand have been fantastic, along with India and South Africa. They absolutely pummeled England into submission in the opening game of the tournament. And after that, if you see the other three victories that they had were against Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and the Netherlands, the three games even before the tournament started, you did expect the Kiwis to win. And their first challenge from an informed team came in the form of India, where they gave a good account of themselves, but were stopped by the likes of Kohli and Rohit Sharma and Jadeja in that match. But having said that, they've got four games remaining, and all the games are against tough opposition. They meet their trans-Tasman rivals, Australia, next up in Dharamshala in a day game, which is a peculiar thing. And either of the teams will be looking forward to winning the toss and exploiting the seamer-friendly conditions in a day game, I would suppose, followed by games against Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and South Africa. So they've not got easy last four games, and their position in the table could change, but they have got all bases covered as far as I'm concerned. Uh, and they can look forward to, winning at least two games out of the last four and securing their spot. That should be good enough for them. And then the Kangaroos, who had a dismal start to the tournament, losing against India and then against South Africa very badly, uh, are on a three-game winning streak, so to say. Um, they got their mojo back in the game against Sri Lanka, where they fought back very well, where Sri Lanka were 120 out for no loss, and then they bowled them out for 209. Um, and uh, they are very well served by having the likes of Warner back into form. And we saw what Glenn Maxwell could do. So their team is slowly coming into the nick, we would say, and their batting and bowling is combined. And we know how dangerous Australia can get in world tournaments, especially the knockouts. They have a habit of raising their game on that knockout game day and polarizing the opposition. They hit 370 odd against Pakistan as well. Their bowling remains still a weak point, and that one that can be capitalized on. The one thing that they'll be very happy with is the form of Adam Zampa, who was found wanting in the first couple of matches. And they would desperately want him to continue that form because they haven't got much spin backup in their squad to fall back on. Uh, so if these four sides keep up the form that they have been showing, I don't see many changes happening in the top four of the uh, table. But cricket is a game of glorious uncertainties, and if there are no twists and turns, then the real essence of the World Cup is also missed. So I would like to take your opinion on the middle teams in the table, Ravi. Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and then we can go towards the teams who are at the bottom of the table and also have a chat about some upsets, some glorious upsets that we have seen in the World Cup. So your thoughts on those teams which are fighting for the slots in the mid-table clash, I would say.
So the last we did this podcast, uh, almost like maybe 20 days ago. Um, if I kind of step back, step into the future, and if I realize the fact that we're still not talking about England, I would have had a heart attack because looking at the team, the balance, the kind of form that they were in, the depth, the fact that Rashid has a 100, and then top, even the person at 11 can but do really well with the bat and whatnot, right? And now they're pretty much done and dusted with their defeats, predominantly against, I'll say, Afghanistan to start with, and also Sri Lanka. I mean, the New Zealand and South Africa games, let's face it, I mean, they were beaten convincingly, so we can still probably cut them some slack there. Having said that, so given they're pretty much out of the race, I think we should be talking about the 5, 6, 7 at this point, which is Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Um, the first team that I'd like to really talk about is Pakistan. Uh, they were tested against Netherlands, let's face it. They were heavily tested against Sri Lanka at Hyderabad, wherein at one point it didn't seem very likely that they could perhaps be winning. At 37 for 2, Babar Azam was gone for about 10. The kind of innings that Rizwan played along with Shafiq was truly terrific. Having said that, their honeymoon was over with Netherlands and Sri Lanka. With India, Australia, and Afghanistan, at least with India and Australia, it was expected that they would not perhaps be the favorites to start with. But having said that, the bowling attack and short boundaries in Bangalore, and a few other factors added up there, right? It seemed that it could be a close game, and it in fact seemed that in the chase, Pakistan were well in control. But of course, depth is what matters, and then Australia pulled it off easily, and eventually they had a very comfortable win in Chepauk against Afghanistan. It was never easy to start with. I mean, we can still probably look back and say that it's an upset, but I was kind of foreseeing the fact that it's definitely not going to be very easy going forward, given the beautiful Chennai Chepauk turning track, and how Afghanistan are equipped with uh, a Mujib, a Rashid, and also Noor, that and all the glory that he had. And eventually we saw Afghanistan beating them. As I told, like their pretty much their honeymoon was largely over with Netherlands and Sri Lanka, and today they play against South Africa. Not a amazing spin lineup, but having said that, you never know. They could still do well on their day with the spin, but having said that, their batting for prowess is something that needs to be genuinely talked about. So at this point, I mean, it's more than a prediction. It's largely to understand how they're phased out, and I think on their day, um, uh, Pakistan is one team that could easily beat South Africa, and at the same time eventually go on to lose against Bangladesh. Um, and at Kolkata. So that's how Pakistan are phased out, and strictly no predictions for them against them, because you just don't know what they're going to do on their day. And we've seen that in World T20 as well, right? Lose against India, lose against Zimbabwe, and then Kudrat ka Nizam works out some in mysterious ways, and then Netherlands go beat South Africa. They eventually, of course, defeated South Africa too, and then they go on to play the finals, beating New Zealand in semis. More than I mean, that you never know. Like, that's what I wanted to largely point out. It's good to see revival of Sri Lanka, with the fact that they lost 3 on the trot, but eventually won against Netherlands, and today against England too. But they have 4 tough games to play against Afghanistan, India, and New Zealand, and of course Bangladesh too. So, to be honest, I think what I personally feel is the top 4 is pretty much sealed, is what I feel. Um, but at the same time, I don't expect either Sri Lanka or Pakistan to maybe slide in. But if that happens, that's the beauty of cricket, and I would maybe wish for that to happen. Afghanistan at 7 play against Sri Lanka, Netherlands, Australia, and South Africa. Um, you know, I'll say they face three tough games, but on their day they can definitely beat Sri Lanka. But I think Australia and South Africa have that super firepower, and probably they'll end up with four wins towards the end of the tournament, is what I feel. Any quick thoughts there, Pawan Bhai, on the teams placed at 5, 6, 7, and probably then we can talk about Bangladesh, Netherlands, and England towards the end.
Yeah, the teams placed at 5, 6, and 7, all Asian teams, are at 4 points. Um, and the one underlying factor in this entire World Cup has been that there has been a dearth of close games. So whether they have been regular games or major upsets, they have all been one-sided. So as a result of that, we have seen huge swings in the net run rates. Um, so Sri Lanka, they have suddenly won two games around and can, go forward and win another couple of games, and that can throw cats among the pigeons, who knows? And Pakistan, like you mentioned, are mercurial. You never know what you're going to get from Pakistan. So they've got a crucial game coming up next up against South Africa, and if they lose out on that, then it's pretty much curtains for them. But you know that once they get on roll, they're a very difficult team to stop. So they'll hope that their batsmen and bowlers step up, and so do they field well, because they were pretty much abysmal in that game against Afghanistan. And the Afghans, they have been the real story of this World Cup, along with the Dutch, as far as I'm concerned. I was absolutely pleasantly surprised to see the kind of maturity that they showed the other day while chasing a huge target against Pakistan. I think the likes of Jonathan Trott and Ajay Jadeja have had a huge influence on their batting lineup. You never saw them panic in that game, for example. They have been used to playing a lot of T20 cricket, and you kind of expect either a slam bang approach from the Afghani batsman or, blocking. Whereas the lifeline of the one-day game, like they say, is the ones and the twos. Um, and the kind of running between the wickets that we saw from them was, in the class of somebody like an Ajay Jadeja, and they absolutely ran the Pakistani fielders ragged, and that's why they never were under pressure. They have won against England and Pakistan, and that's not a mere fluke. It's a well thought out strategy, and their campaign has been very, very good. And if you see their remaining matches, they've got a match against Sri Lanka and Netherlands. So if they win those two matches, they go up to 8 points, and they can, stick their neck out and, say if we win one more game, we can, certainly push for that slot in the top four. I mean, that would be a dream come true, like Cameroon in the 1990 FIFA World Cup, or Senegal in the 2002 Football World Cup, who reached the knockout stages for the first time from their continents. So they could be the story, but I would not like to count them out. Especially with the kind of firepower that they have. Their Achilles heel is their pace bowling. Um, they should look at developing good pace bowlers. They have good decent batsmen, all rounders, and spin bowlers. And if they can, develop good fast bowlers, they'll be the team to beat in the coming years, I would say. Um, um, and now if we move to the teams at the bottom of the table, the wooden spoon winners, Bangladesh, well, to be honest, they are in transition phase. And also, it's a pity that the nation who has got a test status more than two decades ago has not yet lived up to the billing, and uh, provided stiff challenges to the top teams. If you see the growth somebody like a Sri Lanka had in the 1980s, and it took them not more than 10, 15 years to win a World Cup. How Zimbabwe progressed from getting test status, and how they challenged the top teams for the next 10 years. Uh, and now look at what Afghanistan is doing. Bangladesh has been very, very disappointing in that regard. I think the passing of the baton has to happen after this tournament. And I cannot imagine how the likes of Mushfiqur Rahim and Mahmudullah are playing so low down in the batting order. They don't have much of experience in the top order. But having said that, they've invested in young bowlers. Uh, I'm not sure why Taskin Ahmed has not been playing for them. He's injured, or I don't know much about that, because he's their best pace bowling bet. Their spinners are not what they used to be, so they've been pretty disappointing. And I'd be surprised if they can get any more victories under the belt. Having said that, they played two games at Kolkata, and You can very well imagine the kind of support that they would get from their Bengali brothers across the border for sure, and that should give them a fillip to, you know, give a good account of themselves. They have the talent. We would like to see a strong Bangladeshi side living up to that billing and posing a challenge to all the teams. And England, I mean, they have been the biggest disaster of this World Cup. I don't think anybody in their preview of the World Cup uh, did not have them in their top four. They are the most fancy team. They have been the gold standard as far as white ball cricket is concerned for the last 8 years since 2015. But if you remember in the preview, I told them their main problem is they just have a tunnel vision kind of an approach that we're going to attack, 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 and that has served them well until now. But they don't have a plan B in place. What if that approach is not working? Can we go back to the traditional method where we give ourselves time on the wicket, play the first 25, 30 overs at 5.5 runs per over, or 6 runs per over, and then um, go abandon in the last 10, 15 overs? If a certain approach is not working for you, and it's a very short tournament in that sense, something is not working, you got to find a quick solution that's going to help you. And I think that's the stubborn approach that has, uh, caused them to end up in this kind of situation. Otherwise, I have not seen a team with such a kind of defense uh, in the World Cup. I've not seen a defending champion play so hopelessly in a World Cup. Um, Maybe the last time I saw that was Sri Lanka in 1999, where they were not a good side as compared to the heroics of 1996. But uh, I think they need to have a serious look at themselves in the mirror and say uh, what kind of approach they want to take if that slam bang approach is not working. And that's where the input of the captain and the coach does play a very crucial role. So they're hanging there by the thread. Mathematically, they can still make it by winning their last 4 matches and also hope other results go their way. But I don't see that happening because they have to face India, Australia, and Pakistan in their last 4 matches. And I think one other match they might have got is against
Netherlands.
Netherlands. So it's going to be a tough path for them. One more loss and they'll definitely be out. So you feel for captain Joss Butler, but it just goes on to show if you change the captain and have the same kind of approach with majority of the personnel being from the 2019 World Cup, there's no guarantee that you're going to get results. More than 70 to 80% of the side is the same as in 2019 World Cup. But the kind of leadership that Ian Morgan had, the kind of resources that they had in their bowling with the likes of Jofra Archer and Liam Plunkett, there were two vital cogs in the team, and uh, they're not here. So maybe they're on the last legs as far as this team is concerned, and they would need to, look out for new personnel going forward in the one-day format. And Ben Stokes not bowling also is a handicap for them. So I don't see them, progressing much ahead in the tournament. And to wrap it off, Netherlands, the Oranje, well, they had one stunning victory over South Africa, and that would have been equivalent to them, lifting the World Cup and getting that kind of feeling. They've got a lot of color to the World Cup, definitely. Wherever they go, they've been able to pose challenges to the big teams, and there's only so much they can do because there is less number of matches that they play against the top opposition. And I sincerely hope that post this World Cup, the top teams in the cricketing world take notice of their talent and organize frequent T20 and one-day series against them. It would be very prudent for teams touring England, for example, to just have a stopover in Netherlands and play a T20 or a one-day series as the team fits, so that they can get much more practice against the top teams. And a couple of them are good enough to play in various T20 leagues, including the IPL. And their victory against South Africa was absolutely brilliant. They have their loyal supporters touring with them wherever they go, and I wouldn't rule them out. Making another upset like they have Bangladesh to play and they have Afghanistan to play, if I'm not wrong. so they can upset them as well. They'll be targeting those games. But some of the players have been really, really brilliant. The likes of Bas Delide, son of Tim Delide, who was also a World Cup winner, sorry, World Cup player for Netherlands. Uh, Ackerman, Nidamanuru, uh, Logan Van Beek, Aryan Dutt has been very impressive as a young spinner. So all this will hold them in good stead. They are a young side, and I think they can look forward to building up that side as we go forward in the T20 format and the one-day format as well. So, thanks to them for bringing that color and that vibrancy. And if there are no upsets and every result is predictable in a World Cup, then there's no fun watching it. Uh, but overall, I think the tournament has been really, really good, except for, not expecting thrillers. I think those days of thrillers are probably long gone because, the kind of approach that the teams take really aggressive. It's all in or nothing. So you might see close thrillers in a T20 game in the modern era, but seldom would we see such close thrillers in the one-day game. And the pitches have been really good. And that's the beauty of traveling all over the country, wherein you have different kind of pitches made up of red soil, black soil, and some pitches which are now being made hybrid, mixture of red and uh, black soil as well. So every venue has its own distinction. Uh, so and the dew has also played its part in some locations because there's the onset of the winter in the Indian subcontinent as well. But eventually, we wouldn't want the game to be decided purely on that basis. I hope it does not affect the business end of the tournament, especially the knockout games. But all in all, been a good tournament, and we can expect some more fireworks in the later half of the tournament, leading into the knockout stage. Your final thoughts on that, Ravi?
Oh yes, totally agreed. I mean, talking about Netherlands' journey, right? I mean, let's not write off their defeat against Pakistan at one point, chasing 285. They were 120 for two. It was like, okay, probably there's a upset coming in. And let's also face the fact that, these teams, right, they went through the grind in terms of a very solid World Cup qualifiers, which wherein of course a team like West Indies or probably someone like an Ireland is not definitely not part, right? So they went through the grind, and it's just time would be more like a testament to the fact that the rise of Netherlands as a cricketing nation would go on further. And yeah, I totally echo your thoughts on Bangladesh. um, the kind of circus also that happens, right? This needs to be talked. Like the captain goes to Dhaka to train, amidst the World Cup that's happening, and not all 11 players. It's not like some a push that they're gonna get from their own home fans or something. And today he was booed. Shakib was booed, right? So these are all like there are a few things that specifically happen with highly passionate countries or teams with fans like Bangladesh and Pakistan, but the boards are so messed up that there's no method to the entire madness there. So yeah, overall, at this point, I think Netherlands has been quite promising, and Bangladesh has been always disappointing, though they were sitting at eighth. But yeah, another point is Taskin Ahmad and his shoulder injury. That's pretty much the reason why he was not playing. Uh, and if he was 100% fit, of course, the bowling was very good, like the pace attack and Alan Donald. um, that the whole build up to the tournament was quite nice, and I expected them to probably finish maybe sixth or seventh and trouble maybe big teams, but we're yet to see. Maybe the only big team that they're going to trouble going forward would perhaps be Pakistan or Sri Lanka. Let's see. Time will tell. And at this point, I think that's pretty much it from our end. Really excited to watch the next few games. But having said that, I don't know to what extent it's true, but we could very much have 15 to 14 dead rubbers if the games in the next 4 days probably are going one way, with the team sitting in the top four are winning, right? So hopefully there's some spice to it. That's how I wish. And in 2019 we did have that amazing close games with Pakistan and Afghanistan playing that great game, and it says it's always important for us to probably have those high tension, having a context to the game till the dead end of the tournament, like how it's an IPL with all the NRR and everything coming in. But at this point, uh, hopefully, we still have that a couple of teams fighting for fourth spot there. So yeah, that's pretty much it, Pawan.
Yeah, absolutely echo those sentiments, Ravi. World Cup is not complete without the spice. So I hope that the middle teams in the table and the teams at the bottom who can be party poopers spring into action, and we have some exciting jostling for the top four slots. Having said that, thank you very much for everyone to tuning into episode number 49, where we reviewed the World Cup on the midway stage. We'll be back with the next episode at the end of the league stage, where we will know the four semi-finalists and we'll do a review of the later half of the tournament and then look forward to what are going to be the matchups as far as the semi-finals are concerned. Just a quick update on the semi-finals. If India do qualify for the semi-finals, they will play at Mumbai, except for one situation. If they clash with Pakistan in the semi-finals, they'll be playing at Kolkata. And Pakistan, if they qualify for the semi-finals, irrespective of where they finish, will play their semi-final in Kolkata. So it remains to be seen uh, where uh, all these teams will be, lined up to play the semi-finals, and then we will discuss more about these knockout matches in detail as well um, going forward. And that will be our Golden Jubilee episode of the Third Man Cricket Podcast. So, as usual, please like, share, and subscribe the channel